I'm bored. I'm at the Zon Library. Let's hot water for myself. HEB. I miss the news. I'm seeking death and forever. What gets in the way of me receiving money, steals my money, stays in my homes without my permission, steals vehicles, starting to rape me, start to rape. Jaden's trying to rape him, has raped me, or has possibly raped me. Mostly everyone that I grew up on is they're sex addicts, they're porn addicts. Disgusting. They're terrorists. They think they're powerful or laughable. What else? I'm bored. I'm eating food that I got at Catholic Charities today. And later, I plan to head over to each in my apartment. Unless I'm money for food and I'm money for the electricity in my apartment. My siblings are dumb, like the stupidest ever. They're going in this planet. They pretend that I'm a toddler. It's just irresponsible because I don't let them rape me. They're deplorable. You can decapitate Benito Lorenzo Acevedo. You can decapitate Gilbert Lorenzo Acevedo. You can decapitate Martin Lorenzo Acevedo. They steal my money. They get in the way we receive money. They steal my homes. They steal my vehicles. I've heard that they get pregnant for me with my crushes, pretending that I'm a toddler and that they're dumb. They're disgusting. They're basura, like the worst ever. Don't asco. And then they're trying to lure me in by having separated Jada and Kinlani from me to tell me what it is that they do with the money that they steal from me. They don't occupy any time in my head ever. They won't ever. They're trying to give themselves more importance than that they have. I'm bored. That I've dated through Tinder or Bumble for them to rate. They stalk me. And then they go on to rape whoever I have a crush on. Or what? They get in the way of me having Jaden Kinlani with me, like, she's a toddler. She's so responsible. Fuck me instead. Uy, es una basura. Peor que una prostituta ilegal. You can decapitate Marilyn Lorenzo Acevedo. Y yo, es una puerca tratando de violarme. You can decapitate Uniden Davidson y Lorenzo Suárez. You can decapitate Oliver Lorenzo Acevedo. I've tagged that and it's supposed already. Who else? The Interpol, the Justice Department in the United States, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the International Criminal Court, NEO, the U.S. Army. What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm gonna tan. I have a GoFundMe campaign where you can give me else. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Send me money today. I'm money. When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel with plan. I may be going here. I'm excited about that. What? You get money. That's still my vehicle. They're get in the way of my finances, so I end up in a wheelchair with people begging me for them to gratify themselves like animals, but that's not sexual. They're trying to traffic me into my parents' home after killing Gloria Nirsa to disrespect my dad and me, and then turn my parents' home and rape me there. It's disgusting. Soy a wishful thinker. Una asquerosidad. Un puerco basura. Ew, 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 I don't want to. In the meantime, I have fees that I need to pay. As well as that because and I have two children I need to provide for day-to-day money. What else? What else? What else? What else? Do we go like this? 0 watching. I'd like to pay them full today. They're trying to lure me into a conversation to get me sexually harassed, to ask me of my sexual history, to rate the people that I've been with, for them to present themselves as a fucking. Oh, I have a better choice right now. Yeah, woman. Es un viejo ya y todavía sigue con esa basura de que I'm not a woman. Ew. Disgusting. Oh, that's what people want to know after class. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Mira qué puerca la gente que se atreve a enseñar pene. Ew, 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 ew. ¿Dónde son? Son basura. You're disgusting. Fíjate de la family for always. Let's see if these are real. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? You can think of the Berenice de Negas. Es un asco. Fo, 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 fo. Una puerca, una asquerosidad. What else I missed? I missed going on here. I missed it and I missed going on here. What else? You can traffic everyone that steals from me, so I end up at a homeless shelter without visitors, so I can't have sex. Okay, let her fuck me instead. Es un puerco. Steals from me for him to find people to have sex with. He's a porn addict. He's a sex addict. He's disgusting. He doesn't understand sexuality. Doesn't understand esteem. Es basura, es un asco, es lo peor que hay en este planeta. Stole my money to date him and then would enter my bedroom unannounced without an invitation to rape me in retaliation for me not attending orgies where people get raped. And the majority of the people I imagine I was interested in. Porque said orgies turn sadly into advertisement for illegal prostitutes that are relatives that don't understand what an orgy is. So they're like, during the orgy. Y mírame, mírame, hablo el culo así, como así, mira, mira, mira cómo lo ves. Así te pasa. Bueno, nosotros billete, billete, nene. Bueno, esto me paga billete nuevo. Está el libro, está el libro. ¿Dónde está el libro? They're disgusting. They're disgusting. These people are the worst guests at an orgy. They're disgusting. So gross. Ew, 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 ew. Recording people talking to tag. Such an even think that you'll be needing to be publicly saying that you're a victim of that person. Be the mistake. No, 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 no. ¿Qué es eso? They're the worst guests at an orgy. They're disgusting. They're so gross. They become stalks, rapists. Ew, ew, ew. I don't know about my baby daddy and his hysteria, but the rest of them are the world. And I miss dating and missing one. Ew, ew, ew. Is what they do. ¿Cuánto te van a dar? Pero no sé de qué no te gusta. ¿Estás segura que más nunca lo puedes volver a y te va a dar tu deseo? Nena, ¿cómo tú haces eso? Negociando trust literalmente encima del pene, eso no es en extortion tourism. No, yo no estoy a ese nivel, por eso te dije, yo te veo ahorita. ¿Dónde trabaja? ¿Dónde trabaja para yo encontrarme con él? ¿No le preguntaste o no me quieres decir? What else? What else? What else? What else? I miss you, risking money. What else? What else? I miss Jaden. I miss Kaylani. Anyways, Kayla Barnes, Sarah Francis, Berenice Venegas, that was disgusting. What else? What else do you can only get separated from me? So I look like a bad man. So I can have sex. I haven't had sex since 2016. Last time that I had sex, it was anger misguided, possibly around October or September 2016. What else? 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 You can decapitate Sonia Chavez, activa una puerca. You can decapitate Armando Rian. You can decapitate whoever sent me this message, as long as it's not Jaden Kilani being abusive towards me. Has to separate Jaden Kilani from me. What else? What else? What else? You can decapitate Diana Savedo. You can decapitate Diana Savedo. You can decapitate a Wilma Lorenzo. Dan un asco. Peleando y tratando de matarme por pena que yo no quiero. Se quedan en mi casa sin mi permiso, me roban mi dinero, son basura, asquerosidad. Puercas y puercos, dan un asco. What else? What else? What else? What else? You can decapitate Margarita Correa. You can decapitate Sonia Rao Chapman. You can decapitate the Señora Mira Lorenzo. You can decapitate the Señora Mira Lorenzo. You can decapitate the Señora Mira Lorenzo. You can decapitate the Señora Mira. Are they crying? Then how dare I not let their hosts shine with intelligence after these messages? Huh? Who? I just had them temporarily on Facebook years because I'm seeking the death penalty for them all. I don't need to give them a forum on my Facebook. Él es un puerco basura asqueroso. That's why he causes my starvation. Porque he wants to be, yeah, for never giving him sex, for never taking him out on a date. He's not worthy and he doesn't get it. No, no es que yo sea no cuero. Y si yo quisiera ser cuero, as long as I'm not committing anything illegal and I'm like what everyone would consider promiscuous, it's with myself. Una hipocresía, like de verdad, who cares? Pero this space looks so pretty. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I just found this on Facebook. This space. I mean, on Instagram. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Where is it at? It's pretty so relatable to my aesthetics of it. What else? What else? What else? What else? I think that's why I like the M Plus. If I ever want to host a workshop, when I'm financially stable, it would be a good place. What else? 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 I'm bored. What else? Anyways, I'm charging my phone so that I can get over to my apartment and clean it. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Read down bullshit later. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? So I'm Sonia. Go find your major be going through Instagram. Well, I speak. Well, make fun of the people that steal from me. You, Señora Mira Lorenzo, una puerca, una basura, a human trafficker. She's so gross. Fighting over dick that I don't want ever. Y ellas matan por vagina y pene. No es un compliment decir que ese pene es tan glorioso. Es que ellas y ellos matan por pene y vagina. Una asquerosidad. Fo. Es como si no supieran ir al baño todavía, people say. You can decapitate Manuel Garcia Berrios. Does he want to brag that he drugged me and he raped me? Usually with that type of comment. Pero someone from the FBI will know that. And I mean, I don't want this to be just a PSA. If I need to testify in court against these people, I will. I'm so ready, always. In fact, I'm disappointed that I haven't been asked to so far. I don't. Some people might say this isn't as informal as I think it is, and is being documented by a court. Program requesting the penalty of Benjamin Suarez and his sons that rape me, that steal my money, that get away me receiving money. I think their names are Alex, Andrew, Basura, Lich, Alex, Leila, Anthony Capizon Weston, for within the next 5 to 10 years. That's just a petition. If you can get it done sooner, I don't mind. He may have done so that people don't give him money or plans to rape me again. And I don't want to go through that ever. What else? 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 I'm bored. I'm bored. What else? So, same for these people. Uh, there's a flash flood warning. And I should be in my home, cooking for myself, tranquilita, watching TV possibly. It's a great day to do that. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Anyways, you can decapitate Emmanuel Garcia Berrios within the next 5 to 10 years is my petition to a court. If you could get it done sooner, they steal from one and then try for one to kill oneself. I'm a woman. I don't read into this and think that he's changed my makeup at all. Eres un puerco, son una basura, una asquerosidad. They're stalkers. They're so gross. Yeah, he's disgusting. People call him asco. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? You can decapitate whoever sent me this message as long as it's not Jada and Kehlani being abusive towards me because my family of origin has a pattern of doing that, of causing children of a single woman or single dad to abuse her or him verbally as to separate them. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. What else? You can decapitate whoever sent me this message as long as it's not Jada and Kehlani. That may have been coerced by my family of origin as to being abusive towards me as to separate Jada and Kehlani from me. And Sunday, my girlfriend campaign to people through Instagram. Very professional. Where else would I go to network? I'm not an illegal prostitute. What else did I say? Facebook so overrated too. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Do I send my request to Messenger sometimes? What else? You can decapitate Mirna Rios. You can decapitate Maria Luisa Chavarria Gonzalez. You can decapitate Benjamin Suarez and his sons that rape me, that steal my money, that get low emergency money, that steal my bills. You're so gross. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I missed you. I missed you, Nani. I have to return a book to the library. Then I may return later on to Harvard Library. Let's drop off. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? He steals my money, so I'm crying that I'm hungry. For him to be like that, right? I'm better. That he doesn't understand influencing. Hates it. Like, where did his Nikes come from? Or his penis? If one gets that methodical, for real, for real. What else? 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 I'm bored. And this isn't usually my language, so I don't talk to anyone. When I have to complain that I'm hungry, I don't manage it directly to the FBI. What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. One of these individuals said to me decades ago that he's gonna save years, decades, 2 or 3 of where he puts his penis that isn't in me for. Ugh. Or what he does with money he steals from me. But is the question. I don't even remember him. Just 2, 3 hotties that I saw at orgies when I was very little. Toddler, into preschool years. That's it. Never saw them again. He, on the other hand, stalks me and gets with me in my parents' home, raping me without my consent. And now thinks that to hide that he rapes me and that he uses the illegal prostitutes. Then I'm gonna be like, girls, I'll step the wedding ring, I'll do a stitcher. Quando eu quero experimentar. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I miss paint. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. So that was it. Very short lived. One of them is angry because a relative of ours, as the 2 year old, possibly if I remember that happening correctly, after I realized what feelings are, I'm like, no, 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 not anymore. So he wants me to marry the guy that I rejected while he disgusts me. My apologies to Luis Lorenzo. If has any, tell me. I haven't found any. Though in school, I sat through like one of his presentations at school where they were like in 7th, 8th grade, and I was in kindergarten. Was that him? And I'm like, I'll listen to his speech. Just like in, I don't consider that world leader material, but a veces se le pegan. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? So he wants to try to get me to marry someone that he and I aren't compatible. Doesn't Luis Lorenzo want to kill him too, just like me? Porque Luis Lorenzo in my presence isn't his fan at all. So he wants me to marry Luis Lorenzo, someone that I find deplorable, not attractive. Me da the heebie-jeebies for. No offense to him if he's never tried like to actually rape me and then is a victim of this pushing him into that role. Okay, he tried to rape me at 14. I'm like, no, 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 someone get me out of this. I got myself out of this situation. What else? What else? What else? So he's trying to traffic me into marrying Luis Lorenzo for him to know how his feelings for Luis Lorenzo being hurt. For him to not have to. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Sort through that. So did Luis Lorenzo try to rape me or not? It was incompatibility as soon as I walk away. He may have tried to grab me and I said no and I went away with myself. That's all I remember. I don't remember if he raped me after that, after me saying no. A lot of that people say they're children. So to some people, it's like no means no. He kept trying. If he kept trying, and no means no. And sadly, when people are of children age, it's not even considered rape-ish. Or it's like that kid that is running at the library, it's like, walk, walk. And it has to do like two more jumps before it stops running. What else? 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 I don't want to get into the in and outs of that. Anyways, totally dumb situation that he's put me in. I'm not gonna marry Lorenzo. Ew, they're disgusting. They've interrupted my sex life. I haven't had sex since 2016. I'd like to get back on Tinder and Bumble and take myself out to date people. What else? 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 So they are treating their feelings like it's an emergency. To me, when it isn't an emergency, to me, they just don't know how to process feelings are worse than little kids. What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm surprised that the FBI hasn't stopped them just yet. Like, there's no program that will make them learn how to respect themselves. Yeah. What else? What else? So you can decapitate this Lorenzo tried to rape me when I was 14. You can decapitate me how many sons that rape me and steal my money, that get no mercy money and steal my vehicles and steal my homes. My siblings try to facilitate that. They're so disgusting. Do they go around introducing Luis Lorenzo as their cuñado when he isn't? Not in a relationship with me. They're deplorable. My siblings want to rape me or want to see me miserable with someone that I would feel raped with, for them to be like, I'm with Andrew having hot sex. O todas las chicas y todos los chicos me. They are animals, they don't have sex, they're sorrows. They think that people envy them for penetration because they don't have sex. They're just gross. OMG, that's right. White Crocs with white socks in this one. What? That's the kind of danger that white Crocs with white socks during rain. But oh, he could have a vehicle. What else? 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 I'm gonna cook for myself today. I wanna cook for myself today. I'm bored. I'm bored. Who's gifting me money today? I've tagged the FBI in this post, NATO, Interpol, the U.S. Department of Home States, the International Criminal Court. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm charging my phone fully at least. So that's idea. So I head over to HEB, get some paper towels, and clean my apartment. I don't like being infested with roaches. I need, what is it, Terminix to visit Isa. And I don't know. Only this disgustingness would traffic me into poverty to see me suffer for them to be the hot girl today. Notes, notes, notes. Dangongasca, they're disgusting. They're disgusting. Nicole. Smells like me. Ugh, I hate those. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? pest control. Mad behind the scenes that they're like, but Roma, we're your friends that we're gonna laugh Arlene and having cucarachas in our apartment. You said they would show up in negligee and be like, look at my colon, Andros penis. I'm a superstar. What else? You can decapitate Roma Villancuero. You can decapitate Benjamin Suarez and his sons that raped me, that steal my money, and get in the way of my same money. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm born. What else? Roma is an illegal prostitute that used to stay in my homes without my permission as a child que asco que puerca. So as an adult, she could be that girl still. What else? What else? What else? I didn't go on to try to meet her. He introduced her to me. Un puerco asqueroso. What else? What else? What else? What else? When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel, plan to meet people, ideally for the immersement. I'm excited about that. Very pretty. What else? 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 Lord. What is kids be? What else? What else? What else? What else? Come on. Oh, was there already was just there? What else? I don't know. This person. What else? What else? What else? Let's get to money today. I'm born. Namaste. What else? What else? What else? I want to visit Jaden Kaylani in Tampa next week. I'm going to shop at International Plaza and Bay Street. I'm going to dine at Brio. I'm going to give myself a haircut soon. What else? 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 You can decapitate David Ledesma. Starting to rape me with Roma and Villa con cuerno todavía. They're so disgusting. Yeah. I'm bored. When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel, plan to meet people, ideally from your Muslim. Anyways, I have at least 11 more months of Velocycles that I plan to, when I have financial stability, to travel. What else? What else? What else? And meet people, ideally. What else? 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 He thinks I'm stupid if he's trying to kill me and thinks that I'm gonna go and see who he picked to pretend to be Jada's mother. Who made the cut? Who made the cut to be Kayla's? He does audition. They're like, pick me. Pick me. Yo te enseñaste por eso. They're disgusting and they're waiting. They're like, yes. We steal her money and we're just waiting here to see if he picks me as a better option to be those kids' money. I don't want them, but I just want to know if he picks me. Dan un asco, son puercas, una basura, una asquerosidad. Yeah. This is gonna start to break with how many times I shut up. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I want to visit Puerto Rico next month. Puerto Rico next month. What? I'm bored. I want to visit Puerto Rico next month. What else? I miss Jaden. What else? What else? What else? What else? I miss King Mommy. What else? 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 I'm bored. You don't need a wallet. I'm an American citizen. I want the death penalty for the people that steal from me, that have caused my homelessness for more than 5 years, that have caused my starvation for more than 30 years. I want the death penalty for the people that steal from me. I want the death penalty for the people that get in the way of me receiving money. Of 2025. I would say that having such as sons that rape me, that steal my money, that get in the way of me. That steal my victims. You can decapitate me having such as sons that have a hate crime towards me just for the fun of it. I'm an American citizen, I'm a citizen of the planet, and there's human rights. It's not just called respect, said my daddy decades ago. It's the United Nations also promotes that. There's the FBI. That is an authority that one respects. Because the planet is peaceful for the most part. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'll testify in court against these witnesses if I have to. Though ideally I don't want to. I have to. But I will if I have to. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Fun, fun, fun. All the forms of ID. Down to this. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? And down to this. You can decapitate me. How many citizens? The sons that rape me, that steal my money, that get in the way of receiving money, that steal my vehicles, that steal my food and steal my water in my home so that I die. That have drugged me and raped me, and that caused me so much anxiety. That terrorized me by bringing people that have raped me on base and military bases. They think it's funny that they found a flaw in the system that he can bring terrorists to places. What else? 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 I'm that bored. What else? What else? What else? Does this have any money in it? I don't know what's the rhyme or reason for the deposits. And I didn't throw out one of them when I received this one. And they added like $2 to it before it expired. Ravens. Guys, there's $2 on that card. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? They my homies, what is the sons that rape me, that steal my money, that get in the way of receiving money, that steal my vehicles, that steal my home, so I'm crying on the internet that I'm hungry. So that people won't date me It's customary that people don't go on to showing even attraction unless it's right setting and one is financially stable. That's common practice of dating. They want to see who I can attract for them to rate. They're deplorable. They're so gross. Ew, 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 ew. I'm bored. I want to order the service. At least one. At least the one-time pest man. What else? 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 I'm bored. What else? What else? What else? What else? I don't remember my address is in Puerto Rico. Things that I'm gonna take him out on a date. He's stupid or so. Yeah. They're adult. What else? What else? Unless in Italy and you have a home that's like 45,000 square feet, then they know how to behave. They're like, I'm gonna get a good person out of this vessel. What else? What else? What else? What else? So there's that 266 ish. Bored. I'm bored. I'm bored. Is this thing on still? What else? What else? What else? What else? That dish that I had earlier. I'm using it. And what else? What else? I'm bored. I am. I am bored. And what else? What else? I'm bored. What else? What else? What else? What else? Want from here? What else? Click on that. What else? What else? What else? What else? I want the Meta Skylar. What is that? What else? This? Yeah. What else? 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 Those are cute. I like the Erica too. What else? What else? What else? Killian is cute. Elliot Hart. What else? What else? What else? The Justin Classic is pretty. Oh, Father's Day is coming up. And I don't have money to buy anything for Edgar. Ugh, and he thinks que yo voy a estar así. Abro las cuaretas para poder hablarle a Edgar. Porque de eso lo que él se rodea de prostituta. Porque literalmente, to meet a quota, he's a sex addict and he's a porn addict. Dumb as fuck. It's like, oh, there's that terrorist that's trying to kill me, la vecina y roba. Whatever, boom, boom, boom. Sáquese de mi pene. What else? What else? What else? On a daily, for the most part, people say. So that's environment. There is use that excuse that you could be having sex with someone, then find out it's a terrorist. It's not the same. It's not. That's not violent unless the person is violent for the person that had sex with someone. What else? 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 I'm bored. I'm bored. So without watching this, And I have posted of all the people that steal from me today on Facebook, which is very much progress. I want to visit with Jane and Kingdomi. That's so pretty. I want to visit Dorado Beach with Jane and Kingdomi summer. Or Fermentada. What else? 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 Jesse, our parents. What? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I am bored. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I miss Tatum. I miss Noni. When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel with Nana and meet people ideally going investment. What else? What else? What else? I'm shocked. What else? 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 I need a home ASAP for myself dating Kanani to provide for myself dating Kanani. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I am bored. I'm bored. What is this? Fine. At the river. We're gonna financially stable all the time. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Bored. What else? What else? What else? Did you know that these ankylosaurs are killed for dick and vagina? They're deplorable. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? They steal, they murder, they rape. I don't even remember their names. Honestly, I don't even remember. It's hilarious. Some people saying they could have themselves. I'm never talking about them. Possibly how they're talking about me always. What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm not gonna show up to any conversation. People will be like, I'm truly mad at you right now. Okay, if you had not thought about him at all in these years, he could have been rehabilitated. And all the times that yada yada her, yada yada, I hate her, yada yada yada, I hope she dies, yada 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 yada, but he's always her. And there are people like, well, she never did. What else? 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 What? I'm bored. I'm bored. Yes, I'm charging my phone so that I can head home to TV and buy paper towels for me to clean my apartment because things like that are trash. I don't know if there's stuff invest in. I have roaches, I have no money for food. Ew, those guys that have had an orgy in Stockton are so gross. 4 years old. And he's doing the scorn woman thing. Remembering that she hasn't coming in, I guess now. It's right. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm gonna pay off my credit card today. Post gifting my money. Here's my first. Like when I buy food for myself or pay my electricity bill. I do both of them. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? So now I'm down to that. My second link where there's no Shailene Shetty comment, there's no Michael Hubert insult, is what it was said decades ago. That he, and without me even talking to him. So he's getting now more enemies than he had before. Amazing. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I haven't talked to my family of origin more than 4 years. I don't ever to talk to them ever. I'm kidding. Was it Rebecca Washington self-defense Sunday? And I'm killing self-defense. That's so fun. Family is so important. What else? What else? What else? What else? I miss dating. I miss family. I'm Charles is a dating company. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Yeah. I remember that tiny rodent that I think I saw on my cover. They do that to get people to hate me. They have a list. She can't control her. It's not verbal diarrhea. She's just like, it happened. Like her, right? He's trailing me so much. I don't even remember. I don't want him to hurt my kids. I want him to hurt my kids. What else? 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 I'm bored. I am bored. Could have been a what else? What else? What else? What I just read? What more? Did he have someone run over to the vehicle? Or me just thinking that he's a truck? Yeah. Is he dead already? I'm thinking of something. What else? 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 Let's talk about what did he say? Ronald? What else? 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 I'm just trying to remind me of his existence. Whatever. What else? What else? What else? And more. Overboard. And more. What is this? So pretty-ish. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I don't even know the size of my home today. That's it like that. I think one is in Dorado. I may be confused and thinking one is in Cabo Rojo. I don't know if it's What else? 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 Me and I painted together. My parents stopped taking me to those art supplies. When I was like 2 or 3 years. Because some of them were illegal prostitutes that sadly are prostitution services for orgy time. So grossly ill. Then once they drugged me, my parents stopped taking me there. So my parents said to them that she doesn't have her own bedroom together, and her cell that worked for didn't get tips one way. Or one of them told like I'll just exhibit and get tips out of it. Homes were built, cars were among to be had. And he is on the local cars or services at those orgies. Opiated him. He's very disrespectful, so girls. What else? 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 More? There's one. What else? What else? What else? What else? They try to. What? It's not a. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Instead of practicing patience and respect, it goes on insulting me. I don't know. De que la que se merece en la casa es la que se lo toma en la orgía, la que se merece mi dinero, es la que se lo toma en la orgía. Entonces dice, enséñame tu talento, ¿qué más hace? A veces no vamos a entrar lo que tenía hasta que nos inviten a la próxima orgía. What else? 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 I'm bored. I am bored. What else? What else? I'm bored. So you can take out with me how many sort of sense. That right me, that's the only money that I have no ever save money. That's the only vehicles, that's the only home. That reward legal process with my massage money because that one's legal process. Very good. I've heard. What else? What else? What else? What else? And these are globetrotters with their dog. Oh, illegal process. Por déjame viajar. Así se al pico de tierra. What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. What else? I'm bored. Who's continuing today? Have fees to pay for. And I have electricity that I need to pay for. What else? What else? I by 1999 that he went, I'm gonna take immunity. I paid for this. I would like talking about it. Yeah, they're out there. I don't have to pay any money to have a social life. I'm born. I am. Anyways, What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Who's gifting? Who's gifting me mints? I'm gonna continue doing this if I have to. I need a sub. People on the they stop sharing the comments. What did I? A veces acá cuero pendejo que vomiting never. It's worth it. What else? 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 I'm bored. I'm currently so I can have more time to make my paper towels and the out. My apartment, I'm not excited. My apartment, never. You can take out the time rings, but as soon as it says, no, right, me, it's the only money that get in the way. That's the only thing. This the only home so that their dad thinks that they're better. Home. What else? 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 I'm bored. I'm bored. How much did he suck? Did he go in for him to get knowledge of me? Understand wearing shorts, not knowing that I'm gonna be lonely. Like here I am going from upstairs wearing shorts. For picking up that with my demeanor, I am very honest. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I am bored. They don't like my honesty because it leads to their death penalty. They want me to be like, guys, I don't work. Ya estoy muy viejita para eso de estar reír y mira tanta cana que tengo. Ahora las nenas nuevas, y están así paraditas, la mía está allí. What else? 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 I'm bored. I already had two kids. Like, ¿qué cosa en ellos? Y yo no. Este tipo es un puerco, una basura, una asquerosidad. I don't ever want him near me. What else? 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 When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel with fun and meet people I truly believe understand. I'm excited about that. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I need money for Terminix. For my apartment in Villas Lagos. I haven't had money for food or electricity, so I have an infestation of roaches that I want to take care of myself, not ask the people of Villas Lagos to do like maintenance, but it's not. What else? Apparently, not the right product that they're putting in or the right times, like that they need to be consistently with. I could have a heater possibly that just opens a pipe and has roaches just come in. People say, because they cause everything into one's life to deteriorate. I heard they're dumb, they're stupid, they don't understand progression, they're not smart at all. I even posted on social media. I'm a homeowner in San Antonio on Facebook. And they traffic me into poverty. Some sort of a diary of this Facebook. Else. Here are my bank. Being patient. A lot of people are hoping themselves so that they don't get the knock on their door and a judge will be like, "This is it, guys. We warned you." And before them without a way out. What else? 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 I'm bored. I am bored. What else? What else? What else? What else? Who's gifting me money today? Who's gifting me money today? What else? What else? What else? What else? What was I gonna search for? What else? 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 You can decapitate everyone on the mission. You can decapitate everyone that steals my money. You can decapitate everyone that gets in the way of your saving money. It's June 12th, 2025. I pay for fees for my ability, please. I need money for my electricity bill. Ability, please, and to connect the electricity, I think I need like $25 to have the service connected again. At least the time that I got disconnected. That was the note that I received. What else? There's my bank account number for if you want to get me money today. Name patient. What else? 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 Starving out of my first food. Myself, what is the so it stays in my home, so without my permission, steals my vehicles, gets in the way of me receiving money. You can decapitate Marilyn Lorenzo Acevedo, steals my vehicle, steals my homes, gets in the way of me receiving money, steals my money. You can decapitate Jimmy Gentile, Vicente Lorenzo Suarez, that steals my home, stays in my homes without my permission, steals my vehicles, gets in the way of me receiving money, steals my money, tipo una puerca. ¿Vieron? Well, I don't have a home. She does anything to try to lose conversation. Es puerca basura, asquerosidad. Se cree que yo le voy a implorar a ella y le voy a hablar. Ew. Es una puerca asquerosa. Es una puerca asquerosa. Ella lleva violando por décadas. Ugh. Es cuero asquerosa. What else? 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 I'm bored. That's what they do. They steal one's money. They cause homelessness onto one. They're like, look at me, I have more homes than I need. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Es una puerca. Es una asquerosidad. Él se cree que yo voy a prostituirme ilegalmente para tener casa inmediatamente. She stays in my homes that are meant to be there, pero como she's an illegal prostitute, él le paga y le da my personal home a ella para que se quede. They're locos y locas. Ew. I talk to them ever. I'm not the police. I'm not gonna investigate that. I don't need to talk to them ever. They're disgusting. Ew, 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 ew. So ella darme lo que ella me roba para burlarse de mí, pero yo no le hablo a ella porque ella es una loca, es bruta, una asquerosidad. Ew, 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 ew. Es puerca. Es puerca. And she may have had this house before I went homeless, because then they start promoting it too. Anyways, ellas and ellas. Porque I have a home that I'm and she stays there illegally. Él le paga a ella para que lo host in my home that I'm meant to be polyamorous with. That I haven't curated people to stay in. He's like, Ali es muy lenta, no me va a invitar. Deme la llave y yo me voy a quedar y la voy a invitar a ustedes, chicas, y dale, dale. Ustedes se pueden hacer pasar por alguien que tienen delantal, dale, dale, dale. Oh my God, I'm so amazing. I'm Dear Toes, ew, ew, ew. I happen to follow her on Facebook. So that was it. And I saw that. What else? What else? What else? What else? She's trying to lure me into having a conversation with her. Para y que burlarse de mí, de que le mete el pene a ella y a mí no, cuando yo, eso no es una mujer. Yo, una cuero asquerosa puerca. Da un asco. Da un asco. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel, I plan to meet people. Ideally, polyamorous. Who's gifting me money today? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? You can decapitate Jimmy's and Darius and Lorenzo Suarez. You can decapitate Benjamin Suarez sons. That raped me, that steal my money, that get in the way of receive money, that have drugged me and raped me. That steal my vehicles, that steal my homes. That try to force me to have sex with people that I don't want to have sex with ever. What else? 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 Oh, look you. Look at that. You're welcome. What is Intel stuff? What else? What else? What else? What else? As a blue check marks or whatever. Oh, it's not Intel. It's Intel. I was, it was suggested for me. What else? 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 I'm bored. When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel, I plan to meet people I didn't polyamorous. Ellos se creen que me van a hacer llorar. Y yo es, pero ¿por qué Jenny Sandaliris de Lorenzo Suárez? Y yo no, pero ¿por qué yo no? Anyways, don't you want to kill me because a 4-year-old raped him in my person? What? How is that my fault at an orgy? La diva puerca. I'm like. Y por atrás con el hermano y ella llegó y hizo. Okay. So to me, she raped them both that day. What? I don't know how old I was, maybe 2 or 3. What else? What else? Y puerco nos ew, ew. Después estaba gritando que no puede tener casa conmigo, que solamente puede estar casado con ella, que yo soy una host y él está conmigo, que no puede tener más de una esposa sin su permiso. ¿Ah? Son una basura, son una asquerosidad. What else? 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 You can decapitate Jimmy Jandaliris and Di Lorenzo Suarez. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Aquí para una puerca, un asco, tratando de dirigir orgías, tratando de dirigir matrimonios. Es una puerca asquerosa, basura. She stalks me, so girls. And then she rates my crushes, and then she thinks that I'm gonna tell her who I've dated on through Bumble or Tinder or by meeting in person for her to be like, I'm better than her. Fuck me instead. They usually, this type I've heard, plans out a date that won't ever happen for me, but they're like, en la boda de Jaden, ella me va a invitar. Some shit like that. O cuando Kailani tenga un bebé en el bautizo de ese bebé. Y yo voy a estar allí con mis 2 machos que van a ser gente que ella salió y que una sola vez está con ellos y yo los tengo para toda la vida. Ella con la gente de rey, una puerta es asquerosa. Fo. Worst guest at an orgy. Ew. So gross. So gross. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? You can decapitate me, homie, so sons that rape me, that steal my money, they get in the way of your seeing money, that steal my vehicles, and get in the way of your seeing money. Porque if they're so adamant of getting Judy and that it is off of their dick, que la maten in self-defense. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. What else? 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 I'm bored. In the meantime, yo no me meto en matrimonio ajeno nunca. So they steal. The theft towards me is real. The drugging me and raping me is real. He did it just to have pictures and be like, what a beautiful marriage I had with Darlene. I just have the pictures. The fucking puta no quiere admitir que has feelings for me. What else? 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 What did I see yesterday? A recipe for tacos with mushrooms, onions, cilantro. One of those taco shells from HB that I saw at the deli area the other day. Or the bakery area the other day. What else? 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 So yo en matrimonio no me meto. Fo. Yo en matrimonio ajeno no me meto. Pero the theft towards me is real, the rape is real, the stalking is real towards me. What else? What else? And I want them to stop stealing from me. I want them to stop stalking me. I want them to stop trying to include themselves in my life. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I miss dating. I miss getting money. I miss dating and I miss getting money. I'm sending my GoFundMe campaign to people on the internet. I'm currently charging my phone and then I'm heading over to HEB and I'm getting paper towels. Heading over to my apartment, cleaning it finally. It's not that much. It's just the kitchen and I rarely use it. It's just mainly trash that I have to take out. And trash in my bathroom that I need to take out. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. Who's gifting me money today? I'm gonna shop at H&M later. And I'm gonna take myself to Autobites next week. Who's gifting me money today? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I painted the underwater though. Very talented. And I'm gonna get back to painting. What else? What else? What else? What else? Anyways, who's gifting me money today? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? You can decapitate everyone that causes my poverty. You can decapitate everyone that caused my homelessness. What else? 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 You can decapitate everyone that causes my poverty. So that I am inconvenienced with messages like this. Forget they're porn addicts, they're sex addicts. So I received a message from someone I witnessed already decades ago saying, hey, you're right. And so they're like, es puerco. Oof, no quiero see that. I don't ever want that near me. What else? What else? What else? What else? When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel the planet, meet people, ideally polyamorous men. What else? 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 I'm bored, just trying to give the impression de que eso es lo que me gustaba y ahora no me gusta. También habla así. He's known for being a gaslighter, first of all. And I really don't go into, I don't need to go personally into the details of who he says that to that believes it when I know it isn't true. He uses as an excuse that I didn't take him out on a date, so he's going to treat me as a wife that he abuses. I'm not his wife. I don't know him. I don't want to get to know him. I don't remember their names even. I don't want to know their names. I don't want to attend their funerals ever. What else? 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 It's so gross. It's disgusting. I'm bored. And I'm no obligation to take it out on a date ever, not even if we met at an orgy that was in with the intention to marry. No one ever visits an orgy with the intention to marry everyone that one meets at an orgy. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? It wants to cry scorn woman. It is deplorable. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. What else? When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel, plan to meet people. Ideally polyamorous. I'm excited about that. Oh, I already said this to this person. What else? 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 I'm bored. You can decapitate Vanilla Lorenzo Acevedo is trying to get fame of being sexy. To me, she isn't sexy. You can decapitate Marilyn Lorenzo Acevedo is trying to get fame of being sexy. To me, she isn't sexy. You can decapitate Jiva Lorenzo Acevedo is trying to get fame of being sexy. To me, they're not sexy at all. What else? What else? What else? They're rapists, they're murderers, and thieves trying to rape me since I was like 3 years old. They steal my money, they rape my crushes, they're trying to put me on a wheelchair, trying to bathe me. They're so gross. And he has lists of people possibly that he wants to see them join in the action. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Es un puerco, una broma caracera. Ew, 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 ew. So gross. What else? What else? What else? It wants to traffic me into my parents' home. So I'm a prisoner there. My dad won't ever make me a prisoner of the home, anyways. For it to Ika to rape me there. I'm at an age already where I can walk away, push people away. Now that I'm vocal about it, people say that that's the normal progression of abuse. It's not me getting feisty. Before I was like, mold on, like I didn't invite him here. He's so pretty. Why does he keep raping him? He's so gross. And then he's going on dates with people, and then I don't have the same rights to go on date with people because he steals my money and gets in the way of me receiving money. I don't want him here. 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 Good, he left. Dad, can you call the police? Okay, I didn't want him here. So now I can just walk past him if he ever enters my bedroom or whichever I would be staying at and leave my parents' home. If I were to stay in my parents' home. What else? 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 I'm bored. I am bored. Just because my parents didn't say leave doesn't mean that my parents were okay with him entering my parents' home and raping me. My parents were terrorized. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel, plan to meet people, ideally polyamorous men. I'm excited about that. Sending my GoFundMe campaign to people through email right now. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? He wants me to disclose to my kids who's right. I'm gonna say all the illegal prostitutes that he's had on his own. According to himself, it's just a natural reaction. If he has healthy relationships, they don't exist to me. He's a rapist, murderer. What else? What else? What else? What else? In the meantime, I should text Stephen Kennedy or call them soon. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I am bored. I need to do laundry and the washer in my apartment. And dryer doesn't work, there's no electricity. I've made a commitment to myself that I'm going to stay wherever I want to stay. So if I want to make San Antonio the best asking for money. What else? 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 I'm bored. I'm bored. I can always visit Jada and Kelani if they decide to stay with their dad or have them live with me when I'm financially stable. That's it. That's my priority. Myself, Jaden, and Kelani. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm so bored. I watch TV today and cook for myself. You can decapitate Liam Bay. Disgusting. He thinks that when I die, I'm gonna be like, oh, I never attended an orgy with pretty people roasted. What? So he traffics like what I consider the ugliest into my life, and then he laughs at it. All those people that I had on Facebook, he laughs at them, and he introduces them as a significant other. Ew, ew, ew. And then he thinks that I'm gonna be like, they're all the pretty girls and all the hot guys that I want to be with. I ask. Okay, I know how I have game. He doesn't. I know how to attract people. That's why he steals my money. It's disgusting. Ew, 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 ew. Si él se cree que yo me muero por alguien que I would find attractive. Usually that doesn't ever work out. What else? 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 Dan un asco. Dan un asco. They're the floor ones outdated in their reviews. What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. Who's gifting me money today? What else? 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 Who's gifting me money today? I want to stay at the Grand Hyatt tonight for a few nights and watch TV, order room service. What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. My teeth are sensitive right now. I want to tan. I want to visit the beach next week. Who's gifting me money today? Who's gifting me money today? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. That is so pretty. I already messed with this first thing. Looks like it's on Puerto Rico. And this person too. I missed it. I was gonna like to go and message this person too. I haven't watched TV today. I haven't watched TV today. You can decapitate even this month that raped me in 20, 17, 18, 19, and 20. You can decapitate Jorge Aviles that raped me in 2016. You can decapitate Michael Norman that raped me in 2016. I didn't want to say that ever. About Jorge and about Michael Norman. I just said, oh, they're cute kids. That's it. Back then. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? David is mine. I don't want to see ever again. He steals from me, stays in my homes without my permission. Gets in the way of me receiving money on Puerto Corazon. Illegally prostitutes himself, pretending to be me in my own home that I've never stayed in. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? They're disgusting. Mostly everyone that I grew up around is disgusting. The rapists, murderers, and thieves are sex addicts and porn addicts. They're so gross. They listen to a person say I'm hungry, I need money, and they're like, ¿qué está mi vagina? ¿Qué está mi pene? Ew, disgusting. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. Then I shop for myself. Let's take it. Let's get on. I'm bored. I am bored. What is this? What else? 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 You can decapitate Cyrus Peña. I don't want to see him either. You can decapitate Sarah Francis. I don't want to see her either. You can decapitate Kayla Barnes. I don't need to keep up with the illegal prostitute that stays in my homes. Without my permission, steals my vehicles, possibly of adult age. She's very gross. Yeah. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I don't ever want her near me. Yeah. else? What else? What else? What else? You can decapitate Christy Martinez. That was talking me in Nordstrom. They start working there years prior, trying to rape me with David Ledesma, La Jamie, esa asquerosidad, Rebecca Washington, Sarah Woolsey. Who else? Brittany Akers and Berlin Jean. They all think that with David Ledesma, they'll get me to have sex with them just because I label myself as polyamorous and bisexual, but that doesn't mean that I like everyone. Ew, dan un asco. They failed sex ed decades ago. And they're of adult age for decades already. Dan un asco. They're disgusting. They stay in my homes without my permission. They steal my vehicles. They get in the way of me receiving money. They steal my money. They want to see me labeled as a bad mother by CNN, like literally commenting, you're a bad mother. They're wishful thinkers, Dito. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? They thought Donald Trump was saying, get out of my country. What else? What else? I'm bored. What else? What else did they think? Pierluisi va a llegar a decir si me mamas el bicho te doy dinero. Porque they're always trying to take down whoever's in office. Alcalde, gobernador, they hate anyone. Even if they're fucking it. They're like, I want it gone, I want it gone, I want it gone. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What did they think would happen? Que todas las que salen en Telemundo local en Puerto Rico me iban a decir, hola, no me gusta lo que tienes puesto hoy. Ja, 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 la misma camiseta puesta siempre. Qué bueno que tú no tienes luz, ni agua, ni teléfono para yo mamárselo a él. Ni comida tienes. Yo como reportera gano tanto, tú no tienes nada. They're wishful thinkers. Ew, ew, ew. What else? That people would say they thought that people literally, the current model of Banana Republic, just saw a picture that I took of Banana Republic a while ago, would be like, hey girl, as soon as you have money, I'm taking you out to eat. And then they would be like, no, current model of Banana Republic. I have a better option for you, me. Oh, we're ready. We're financially ready. That's why they steal from me. They're so gross. Ew, 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 ew. I'm bored. I'm bored. Anyways, I'm gonna cook for myself today, and I don't have money for food. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm so bored. What else? I don't have any money. And they're like behind the times with this hate crime towards me. There's pictures on Facebook of me eating. What else? What else? What else? What else? Next to at least one vehicle, gunmetal, so it was mine. Ooh, what else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else did I post? Knick-knack paddywhacks, literally. The right type to be like, stop stealing from me. My dad warned me decades ago to not show my channel, not my channel, my channel on social media. And he's like, what? He applauded me back then. You're not gonna see the difference in treatment, girl. Oh, I didn't go back for that. That's not in my nature. Have you witnessed them? They're like, ew, Target, ew. Chapo said, yeah, ew. Do you not even get laid? Ew. Show me more. Show me them titties. Show me them lingerie. Ew. I want more. I want to see what you eat. I want to see what you read. I want to pretend that I'm living there with you. Ew, 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 ew. And then they're like, what? So and so respects you? My hero, John Cena. Where can I find out? Likes you? I'm so sorry. You have that. You're wearing Chanel? Oh my god. I'm so sorry. What? What else? 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 So they do that, like they change their behavior, but what they are doing is they're sadly in the masturbation they associate Chanel with an invitation to please do masturbate to the thought of me being expensive. And I didn't come up with those words. I didn't come up with those. What else? 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 I'm bored. I'm bored. I've done great today. Not posting. Oh, on social media. I did on Facebook. About the people that steal from. What else? 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 Have you witnessed how gross they are? They bully a person and they're like, oh, wait, wait, wait. She's not backing down from her confidence. Yeah, wow, wow, everything, wow. I don't go back to hear that ever. I don't need it. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. So bored right now. Can't wait to use the restroom. What else? I'm hungry. I'm ready for sure. The library closes at 6. What else? I've been live on social media typing and speaking that I'm hungry and I don't have money for food and that I don't have money to provide for myself and Jaden and Kehlani. Say both that or with proving that there's sex addicts and porn addicts. So gross. That's what people may be saying to them directly. Full, 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 full. What else? What else? What else? What else? What is this? Carver Library was on. What I change it? What else? What else? What else? Decades ago, they threatened me people and exposed them for stealing from me. That my fingers are gonna hurt from typing, and they did hurt in 2021. What else? What else? What else? I even posted about it on Facebook to keep going on to the next post, and they definitely see that. As I typed on my fingers hurt. Where was I? At the Holiday Inn provided by Haven for Hope, I think. Without food, they only serve 3 small meals. Curfew was at 5 p.m. I didn't have money at all. And Jaden and Kehlani, I need to make sure that they're stable, not just emotionally, but financially too. And this piece of that is so gross. What else? 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 Is traffic mean to poverty? So I call it live on social media piece of shit. What a waste of time for real. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I am bored. I'm shocked. Today, I will cook for myself too. An ice cream today. Is there some in this cart? Not quite. I wonder what I'll do on my birthday, June 19th, 2025. What else? I have no money as of today. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. Here we go. Stop. Incident. What else? What else? What else? What else? That's cute. Subway sells Doritos for lunch. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Some yummy coffee. Earlier, ate bread and made a dish of white rice and beef with onions. So good. As soon as I entered the kitchen area of Guadalupe Shrine Church, what else? No, I didn't eat the full dish because it's me. What else? And for me to not feel guilty about it, sadly, I had a side dish of rice, beef, and then something broccoli, carrots to mix it. But it was a very flavorful dish. And for the most part, what else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. Crying over the time wasted. Take the past 20 something years. 20 years. Imagine if they went through with that, talking about me in group chats through Kik, through Snapchat, through text messages, through email, in person while dining, mocking me for what? Thinking that I'm gonna go on to find out what they say about me. Fool, fool, fool. I don't make time for stupidity ever. What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. What else? And I'm gonna tan today. What's today? Another waffle, not that one that I had yesterday. I wrote it. That was good. Time to have it again. Cold next time, most likely. Not cold. Oh, was it a room temperature or not? How they sell it? I shall ask for next time. More whipped cream on it. And yesterday I had peaches in my bag. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. This is what's on library. What else? What else? What else? I missed it. I missed it. I am bored. Anyways, how many of my marriages the Timid and Daliris and the Lorenzo Soros learned? Trying to control penises and vaginas so grossly illegally too. Oh, qué puerca es. Ugh. What else? Worst guess at an orgy she is disgusting. From guess steals vehicles from guests, gets in the way of guests receiving money so that they can't see other guests again. Ew. Ew. Y se cree que es la reina de poliamor. Why is everything here typed? What do I want? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. They're just looking for a angry one. Ew, at that age, an excuse hurting one as that she's clearly turning on me and saying the truth, and I'm not a woman. Tengo asco de la. Ew, they're worse than children, so girls. Ew. What else? What else? What else? I want rice, white rice, beans delivered to my apartment possibly later. White rice, beans, potatoes, and what else? That's it. White rice, beans, aguacate. What else? 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 Not the pernil ball. Anyways, I'm just in there. What else? I need to take my legs. What else? What else? I missed it. Let's get on. When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel upon or maybe ideally clearance. So, what is this? Leisure. Hello. So, I want food from Luna Rosa today, possibly delivered to my apartment later. Who's gifting me money today? What? Slow. My bread. Well, I like that. Sure, nobody want fries. Only if I got the $20, but I don't order. I look at the just on that. One after money today. They want me to humiliate myself like I've never seen money before. They're telenovelas aficionados, so they think I'm getting. Gracias, Santa María del Carmen de la Gómez. For real, ya eso se lo he dicho varias veces decades ago. El cuello mi hermano, la real, de la conda del supermercado, la virgen de la conda del supermercado. I do that all the time, like, one nice nails, or what the fuck, I'm busy. I won't fuck this next to me, but oh my god, I'm so happy right now. Brutal steals from me, beats me up physically, has ruined my health for the past 15 years. I mean, how do I agree a person at the grocery store? Welcome left from a house, a vehicle, custom everything, and kids that my parents' opportunity offered. Jacking a little bit on my left hand, and he just, I won't be touching to anyone either. Ew. He doesn't have to beat me up physically by starving me, by stealing from me. Ew. He surrounds himself with legal prostitutes that are like, bang. And wants to kill one. Nigga was so attached. Fucking illegal prostitute plays into the storyline of being me. Still, well, and that orgy happened when I was like, what, 2, 3 years old? And they talked to Richie Hill that wasn't even there about her like it's today. Yeah. And they send David Ledesma to rape me like he's part of the program when he isn't. Oh, yeah. The fries, the beans, white rice, and flour. No, and I'm a huge believer of que carajo te tiene que importar a ti lo que yo comí. As long as I'm financially stable and I'm making good choices for. So I'm not gonna talk to them or getting pitched to them meals specifically because they're rapists and porn addicts. So they're just playing into ay, el arroz. O pasó por acá primero. Oh, el grano llegó de Tailandia específicamente para ella por un hombre tailandés que la bañó primero antes de darle la ropa. Le nosotros. I'm bored. I'm bored. Júralo. Okay, I'm gonna ruin my meal by talking to them privately for him to even fake the from Luna Rosa or them mocking me that I don't have money for food. Is what I said in 2020. Like, I'm not gonna show up to group chats or move to Puerto Rico either, just right now. Ew, 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 ew. No, 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 no. I've witnessed so much abuse, stupidity, waste of time. Que la dueña de Luna Rosa, if she's innocent of any abuse towards me, would be like, nena, nena, se me va a quemar el arroz y tú no te callas todavía. Aquí no te dan dinero. Y yo no soy tu familiar, so figure it out with them. What else? 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 I'm bored. What is there in the car? Oh, I need to want the flauns. Okay. What else? What else? What else? What else? Maybe the aceitunas lunch. Definitely like a sofrito. And what was I gonna? Oh, there's the bread pudding. But I want. What else? 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 Anyways, congratulations. What in one conversation today, Gina Jandarere said, yeah. I was just taking you guys hostage so I could marry you all, and she couldn't have so good. We fuck each other for drama de 40 años. We'll stay with you. And they're like, okay, let's make it official. That's the conversations that I've witnessed them have decades ago. Ooh, there's so else. I don't ever want that in my life. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Is there plantains? Did I get to 20 bucks with the flan? Definitely with the flan, right? Is there magic chip with the tostones added automatically, or do I need to? Good question for one to call and ask before placing an order. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm waiting to charge my phone and getting paper towels at HEB to clean my apartment. What else? 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 I'm bored. Was Mexico there before? What else? What else? What else? Oh, how am I faking a lifestyle here? If I was born literally with a platanutre possibly in my face, pork, I couldn't eat it right away. I had to get these in a sense of directions that it wouldn't choke. And they want to talk to me privately and be like, stop faking it with the plantains. Stop faking it with the H&M. Stop faking it with Target. Stop faking it with water. Really? You're gonna find vodka and kill yourself on the first night that your children were separated from you. That's what we were hoping for. Sarah didn't get to you with the cuidado de la mujer. No one got to you with the cuidado de la mujer. No one can get to me. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Which I'm at very high risk of them trying to do me. Is what the FBI may be like, no, girl, no put them down. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? They hate like it's smart enough so that they can't get to one with lo cuidado de la mujer. They hire legal prostitutes with one's money, claim that one isn't a woman. And then they go on to be like, look at her shaving it. Look at her spreading her nalgas. Look at her tocándose las tetas. And people are like, those aren't lo cuidado de la mujer. She didn't ask you for that. She didn't ask for starvation and poverty for you to show her videos of what people send to you. And then he violates privacy because every once in a while I've heard. Then he throws in like the hot girl that he's like threesome with you. Okay, I'll throw in a freebie. Like I think you'll like this one. And one says no with you, but she's very pretty. What else? 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 I don't want breakfast. I want food already. What is there? Kids friendly. I don't know what else I plantains. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? So that I add here. What else? Possibly to here. When would it deliver? And within what? Oh, I'd like faster. And pay $1.99. Like for example, the library closes at 6. So I would possibly pay for faster, and at the restaurant they're laughing. They're like, pay for at the same time that we would have gotten it out. Sometimes that happens. What else? 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 Tostones, side house fries, beans, white rice, avocado, queso frito, and lamb. Who's funding this for me today? What else? 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 I'm bored. I am bored. Who's gifting me money today? Anyways, I want to shop at H&M today. What else do I want to do? And I'm going to clean today my apartment, take the trash out, ideally. What else? 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 I'm so bored. What else? What else? What else? Who's gifting me money today? Congratulations to Jimmy and Benjamin Suarez sons that raped me to steal my money that get no way of receiving money under arrangement decades ago. Decapitate Jimmy that it is Suarez that's trying to rape me. That's always hilarious to people. I was accused her of wanting to rape me before, remember, she raped me. And that he's drugged me and raped me with her. So gross. What else? 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 You can decapitate me. I mean, so sons that rape me, so steal my money. They get in the way of your statement. It's June 12th, 2025. He's trying to put me in a wheelchair, trying to have people bathe me like I'm a toddler, like I'm no woman. We fall. Trying to give me Alzheimer's, o que se me olvide que me ha violado, me roba mi dinero, me roba mi casa. Oh, porque that's the ideal situation for sex. There's no one ever. Except this basura. Fool. How high is he on drugs? What else? 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 And he's trying to traffic me into what else? What else? What else? Into poverty. He's trafficking into poverty, trying to traffic me. I'm just reading about myself here. And he's trying to traffic me into my parents' home, trying to rape me so grossly. Ew, 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 ew. And I'm just here reading about Miami, the pandemic, New York. What? I have better things to do in my life than fight again with Jay Shetty. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? It wasn't an argument. It was animosity. But it's like I don't like meeting people like that. I had been brainwashed into thinking of his last name as James Shetty, Jay Shetty. That I would shiver around him. What else? What else? What else? And I think it was brought up. It's like it's not that she hates you. It's not that he hates her. What else? 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 That was decades ago. I follow him. I find him very motivational in what he says during his videos. I'll buy the book just for fun. Personally, he might be very What else? What else? What else? Whether it's organic or not. What else? What else? What else? What else? I just posted on Facebook about me. I have bigger problems than dick. I'm starving and I don't have money. What else? What else? I'm bored. What else? 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 That's part of migration. What else? 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 I'm bored. I'm bored. What else? I've managed to post today on Facebook and not It be about the people that steal from me, that stay in my homes without my permission, they get away with their saying. Very impressive. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm gonna shop today and tomorrow. And the next day, I want to order keys for my apartment. I lost them. I need to replace them. What else? What else? What else? The mailbox key, the apartment key, the key fob to enter the building. I had it all together, lost it all together. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. Ready for it? They traffic me into poverty and porque with the exception of me, Jaden and Kehlani, guess what these people are fans of? What is it that people call it? When a toilet gets clogged and then shit starts coming out of another pipe instead of clean water. You can they can't read me. Then steal my money, they get in the way of me receiving money. Then steal my vehicles and steal my homes. So I'm stressed out because they're porn addicts, they're sex addicts. I'm hyped up here of starvation and the need for money. You're sick, like, on top of it, sick. É brutal. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. You can decapitate everyone that's caused my starvation, my poverty, my anxiety, my depression, my addiction. You can decapitate many hands, so te van a puerca, una basura. You can decapitate Erica Gardapi. You can decapitate Julia Prince. They're disturbing themselves. Please. Ew. Anyways, you can decapitate Sonia Val Chapman. Dan un asco, they think they're motivation. And one just responds to respond porque Kema is gonna say, mira, fucking cuero asquerosa. Then you're hiding on behind your son's Facebook account or name. You're just a hoe que quiere fight for Liam Baker, who I have no interest in. You can decapitate Kate Eloise Horwood, whatever. You can decapitate Benjamin Solutions, the sons that raped me, that steal my money, that steal my vehicles, that steal my homes. That get in the way of my semen. You can decapitate Janice Vega. You can decapitate Gustavo Cáceres. Que se queda en mi casa sin mi permiso, steals my money, gets in the way of me receiving money. 5 to 10 years from now. No, I'm hoping the FBI does it within the next year or 3 years, ideally. Pero that's my suggestion for Gustavo Cáceres to get the death penalty in 5 to 10 years. What else? 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 I'm bored. There's that meeting with Cindy and wow, me en frente de ella. Le abrí la pata. Allí al launches y todo. Ni un peso me quiso dar. Just kidding. Él es un puerco asqueroso que mete gente en mi casa and then he makes them look professional with the paycheck. Well, I don't have any money because he steals from me and gets in the way of receiving money. Think of it like, oh, wow, person with a paycheck. I'm like, oh, Sarah will say traffic me into meeting Cindy Infante, que asco. Ella quizás se robó mi diseño de bordado que postaron en Instagram. Y él hizo un traje con mi bordado. He has her the ring in private group chats thinking that he's gonna mock me that I don't have any money and he got me in front of Cindy Infante as a paycheck. Ew, lazies and time wasters so gross. Ugh, they're disgusting. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else do I remember happening from 2020? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm bored. Who's giving me money to me? I'm being very patient. What else? What else? What else? What else? I missed you. I missed my money. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? He thinks the single mothers that are evicted are hot in his pornography in his head. Shoot him already. Shoot him already for stealing from me. That classifies as rape or what is it? Sex trafficking. If he watches me every day and is masturbating to the thought of my poverty and my crying, kill him today. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I don't ever want him near me. I don't ever want him near me. What else? What else? What else? I want unlimited data. Pero this prick asquerosita basura, que I don't even know his name, se cree que controla mi vagina. What else? 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 Dan un asco. Dan un asco. In the meantime, I'm sharing my GoFundMe campaign with people through Instagram. What else? Who liked this post? Charging my phone and then heading over to HEB, getting paper towels and then cleaning my apartment up mess. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I want to join. What is that? Fat Life right now. What else? What else? What else? I've gotten some invites from there. It's fun. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. Entonces, so good that they invade my privacy, right, Jenny Garcia? Because you go around showing to them our conversations through Tinder and be like, she's not lying. Yeah, she was on Tinder. Because sometimes those people that get abused are like, I've been on Tinder. Y también estuve en Basan Library without being a Basan Library or Tinder. But the good thing about them invading one's privacy, people say that they're so gross that people say when she says she's been on Tinder, you know that she's been on Tinder because you invaded her privacy, most likely, and you've seen the screenshots of at least a few people she talked to on Tinder. What else? 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 I'm bored. I am bored. Who's giving me money today? I have fees that I need to pay to build likewise. I'm so stressed out. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. What else? I need dollars ASAP. What else? What else? What else? What else? And I want to travel. What else? Anyways, I had a very lovely. What was that? Brunch at Guadalupe Shrine Church, but I don't want to be doing that every day either. I can replicate the coffee at home, and I don't need to be in places where it's just for people that don't have any food. What else? What else? What else? What else? When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel with and meet people ideally, pretty honestly. I say all that. What else? What else? What else? I took this picture a while ago. So pretty. I'm there. I'm there. My tatitas are there. I'm like all over the library with COVID-19. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? My parents know that I don't want fame. Oh, being nice to people so that people practice niceness to themselves if they don't already. Because that's a character trait that almost no one in my family origin has. Being nice to people without any expectations. What else? What else? What else? What else? So they gave me monikers of what I'm anti. Pretty much are that. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? So COVID-19 still trending 2 hours ago. Oh wow. What else? 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 Something with it. So whenever I bring awareness to that, not everyone's touching itself or others necessarily, or participating if they don't want to. You don't have to. I won't force. What else? What else? What else? I could have been reading a book, shopping, driving, dining. Those people that I grew up around for the most part are not sooner than I want that. And what else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. What else? What else? What else is this document that I'm bored about? I'm not gonna bring it up anymore. I hope so. Who it is? At least on Facebook. Who it is that steals from me gets in the way of me receiving money. Though I'm so inclined right now because I'm so upset. Pero it's not emotionally healthy for me to talk about it every day. What else? 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 Turning me into the seamstress that builds a successful brand and then she sues her and takes it all away from her. She steals my money, stays in my homes without my permission, tries to rape me, gets in the way of me receiving money, tries to turn me into her sex slave. She thinks that I'm going to talk to her. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Una puerca asquerosa, una basura. Still haven't been able to work on that collaboration because she steals from me. She's like, I'm not gonna be able to wear it. Down the school, they don't ever want to see people happy. They're deplorable. They're so gross. Worst guest at an orgy ever. María Lorenzo Acevedo. Roba marido, fo. Mira la otra. Roba marido, fo. Mira lo otro. Porque ¿dónde está el pene de gay ahora mismo? ¿Dónde quiere estar? Porque he and I don't know, out of he and I who looked out that I wasn't planning on having sex with him more than a dozen times in my lifetime with the intention of procreating, dating, and learning. What else? What else? What else? And one here, one there. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? And I ended up being a victim of theft, domestic violence, abuse, genocide, rape, sexual harassment. Then he took me in to live with him, and we raised Taylor and Kalani together in the same home. What else? What else? What else? I don't need to hear it from him. How stressed out that possibly made him feel. Under the right gun setting, they go on to even regretting one. I don't need to hear that. If he regrets me, he can personally tell me one day. Or he can tell a therapist if he wants to. I'm not gonna let these sucio asqueroso put him like he feels like he has a gun to his head and regret me and my kids. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. They're playing games with people. I live life for real. Ew, ew, ew. Don't let's go. They're disgusting. They don't take anything serious. What else? 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 Hago lo que tengo que hacer. I would order food for myself in the morning. And I need to tan. My legs don't look that bad with cellulite. It's less traumatizing than I thought it would be now that I'm wearing shorts. And I thought it would be sunny out. I was planning on sitting at Travis Park for a few, like 30 minutes here and there to tan my legs at least. What else? What else? What else? Gonna turn out to be a rainy day. I want to cut my hair a few inches or an inch. What else? I'm ready for food to be able to have the energy to do that. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Even decapitating how many satisfies sons that rape me. That's the only money that get in the way of money. That's the only vehicles. That's the only homes that try to rape me. That drive me. That rape me so much. They don't have self-respect. What else? My siblings think that I'm gonna fight for dick. Never. Ew, they're deplorable. What else? 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 I'm bored. Oh, that's cute. What else? And I need a vacuum cleaner for my apartment. I need to move out. I want to live with Jaden Kilani. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. You can decapitate those that steal from me, trying to interrupt my sex life to find out what it is like. They're so fascinated by it that they continue stealing from one, so one can't have a sex life. Well, that's because they don't understand what sex is. What else? 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 Edgar and I have an agreement that when I meet someone, he'll give me my part of the trust that's for me to sustain that relationship. Whether I need a private plane, whether I need hunter boots, anything in between, and so on. Edgar and I have that agreement. So I don't need to go on to waste time with people that I grew up around that have no interest in having sex with whatsoever. Yeah. Literally, they're like, consider me, consider me, consider me. No. I always know that. What else? 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 I'm bored. I'm bored. When I finish this day, I plan to travel plan and wait till I'm excited about that. Girls are pretty too. What else? I'm bored. So you can decapitate me on Baker that I didn't want to see again. You can decapitate Jorge Ledesma that I didn't want to see again. You can decapitate David Ledesma that I didn't want to see again. What else? 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 What is this? So relatable. What else? I'm bored. What is this dish? It's relatable time. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I want to eat pizza today on menu. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What does he do? Show albums of like, here I am eating pizza with this one. But the money is still for me. Here I am eating pizza with this one. But the money is still for me. Here I am eating pizza with this one. I know how to eat pizza, but the money is still for me. Looking for people to rate. So he creates a catalog. Does he literally think that I'm gonna want to jump in? Like Fridays, I'm with this illegal prostitute dancing. Wednesdays, I'm cooking with an illegal prostitute. Tuesday, I'm reading with an illegal prostitute. Let me know when you want to jump in and take the place of the illegal prostitutes. Huh? What else? What else? For real, does it just to mock me? Which is why I don't ever entertain it. For real, for real, for real, for real. What else? What else? What else? What else? That dick is so busy, so overwhelmed, and gets so right. It's very handsome. So men like that, with la fama que tiene el padre también, get raped at least decades ago with people that don't understand the concept that it only has a limited amount a day. And they already knew what thousands of people by a certain age. What else? 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 A mí no quieren ni que yo coma. And he created an imbalance. He's so dumb. I won't ever forgive him for that. Because he's a huge part of the problem. He's the problem. He steals from me, gets in the way of me receiving money, and then I can't partake in sex, and then it's possible overwhelmed still that he's having way too many. And it's not that I need to take over the people that he has sex with. It's not like that either. What else? 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 I'm bored. So when I'm financially stable, I'm trying to travel partner and meet people ideally for my husband. What else? What else? What else? I miss Jaden and I miss Kaylani. I haven't hugged Kaylani since November 2020. I haven't hugged Jaden since July 2024. And I plan to be with my kids at least once a month if they stay with their dad. So I'm so frustrated at this shit, literally, that keeps me poor and gets in the way of me receiving money. Thinking that yo voy a perder mi tiempo bochinchando with them behind the scenes. Of literally, I don't my kids, I don't have anything to do, guys. What are you up to today? It's cruel. Oof. Ew. And hopefully at age 2 it was my idea of eat my shit. Because that's just bad manners that my parents may have been saying. I don't know where she got the idea. And one evolves and doesn't do that anymore. I'm like, excellent. Veda's legend says that they're killers, they're rapists and murderers. So as children, they were being killed by adults. And only I and a few people would have survived. I didn't cry about it either. What else? What else? What else? So my dad said to me decades ago, "You're gonna end up seeking the death penalty for him, regardless." What else? What else? What else? No, le dan consejos. He doesn't want to listen. What else? What else? What else? He thinks he's autonomous in his stupidity. He hurts so many people in the process. I don't even know him, and I get affected. What else? 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 I'm bored. I am bored. What else? 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 I don't need to apologize. And it's not me throwing a rant. If it was my idea to say my shit, I think it was the latter. That they're so disrespectful that they were being killed by adults for being so disrespectful and terrorists decades ago. So I remember Yolanda, if that happened, say I think it was to Albert, you don't have to eat her shit anymore. Porque with my bird, they started to semi rehabilitate themselves. They're like, look at this monkey, we can train it, she's good. And she listens and obeys to herself. And they were fascinated with the idea of like, wow, she is growing up next to us and she's a world leader. And we're like, no, no, don't do that. When her mother wasn't watching, porque your body language says that you don't want to be that person either. So you're like screeching at someone, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to be in this situation. I'm screeching at someone. What else? 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 I'm bored. I'm bored. I don't want to be bringing this up ever. What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. What else? When I'm financially stable, I'm trying to follow up on and make it. What are these? And that was inspired. So go there below. Not the kind of below students. That's normal for people that sometimes grow up in Puerto Rico to say that. What else? What else? What else? Those give me head from poor. I saw them at HEB the other day, coconut cookies. And I'm like, ugh. And it's not poor. Like I bought them once in the middle of a move or just arriving to a place. I stopped at Walmart and I'm like, I got pans and foods for me to cook. I'm like, I'm just gonna eat these until like I feel full. While I cook and I always get ahead of go back to that. What else? 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 Cooking is the standard of life for a lot of people. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Benjamin Suarez said to me decades ago, based on my demeanor too, that there's nothing for one to be embarrassed of if one cooks for oneself or one's family. Look at how much the chefs get paid. And then some of them, my dad went on to add, get paid so tremendously well, and they are spending their entire day cooking for other people that they're like, whatever, I'll just eat a grilled cheese and be miserable. I'll buy food from McDonald's, but be miserable, not like this is how I'm gonna treat myself. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? So I don't need to fake having a chef. I'm very impressive myself. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I was cooking for myself. What? What else? What else? Oh, yeah, it was sitting there. It bothers me. And I couldn't see it well this morning because there's no electricity in my apartment. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. Breakfast that I cook for myself. Apples that I cook for myself. What else? What else? What else? Grilled cheese with potato chips from HEB. What else? What else? What else? What else? I love that the consistency of the pancakes is just very different all the time. What else? That brown on the cotton looks nice. One just removes it with the fork to not line, but one can do that immediately after cutting it. What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. What else I miss? Shopping. What else? What else? What else? I miss Jaden. I miss Big Money. I miss cooking for Jaden. Big Money. So good. What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. And that's what I'm going to be cooking for myself today, not a money or just in my apartment. So you can decapitate everyone. That steals my money, gets in the way of me receiving money, steals my vehicles, steals my homes. Full, 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 full. I'm bored. I want to cook for myself today. I want to cook for myself and I want the suntas on my eyes to go away. I want to build muscle on my body. Still working on it. What else? I want to tan. What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. So, how many meetings do they have about me, dear Shannon? Is there informally about Shashi Tan? The illegal prostitutes. And then they start, well, well, well. What is it? Bueno, traje de baño. solo con una tirita así. Y they can spend. And they're like, como la tirita, bla, bla, bla. And then the people start, well, actually, no tengo fotos de un traje de baño que puedo recomendarte para ella. They're lazy and time wasters, so much. So, pero aquí una foto de yo en traje de baño, si quieres me pueden llevar hoy a la playa. And that's what he's doing, is trafficking people. Still with the conversation that I'm for him to find a beach state that day. Enseñar madre también. So he steals my money and gets in the way of saving money, steals my homes and steals my vehicles, because then I'm the forever, what is that, conversation starter. What will you hold? I heard he legally prostitutes himself with me. That's why he doesn't even let me have money on my birthday. For that, he's being paraded around pretending that he's me. These are actually goodish. They're soft. More. Anyways, págame lo que me debe. Y no es la iglesia en general, la iglesia católica. Es la basura que tienden, que se queda en mi casa sin mi permiso, me roba mi dinero. And get in the way of me receiving money. Yo por tan por mi culpa, por mi culpa. And then they think that that's a way of life. Por su culpa, genocide. It's what people say. It's like, who else pay a iglesia? I'm like, wow, I guess. Very enjoyable. What else? What else? That's why I do all things. I want to impress myself sometimes, like when I take pictures of the library, for example. Where is it? When was this? So in between all takes, a lot of them on my camera roll. I like that. Where did it go? There's this one that I like. Oh, because that pot that Haven for Hope gave me is so cheap, possibly. Yeah, it shines in my picture. What else? 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 I like this one. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm the victim of she won't get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich. It's not in my nature to act married to anyone. Again, planchaba su propia ropa. A lot of days se hacía su propio desayuno by choice too, but I would ask him, like, do you want me to get up when you get up and cook your breakfast? He's like, no, it's fine. So he would cook breakfast for himself, usually for lunch. Most days he would stop by lunch with me. And then I would make breakfast for myself when I would wake up. So yeah, one time we bought like a stevia sugar for fun. And he left the regular sugar for me and took it with his coffee. And he got an allergy. Of that and buy the sugar like that stevia again. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Where is the picture of the library? Oh, that one. So when I post mostly outtakes, then I'm impressed. I will probably look on right now. Yeah, I was gonna take some pictures today, but I don't have the time. I didn't want to make the time. Estaba loca por ver, pero no, sentía que no lo veía. It's not in my nature. I'm gonna kill him in self-defense. If I find out that they've trafficked me into poverty, does he have a Nissan 300 or something? Y yo estoy a pie. Dame un asco. I picked out of what's parked there. Like, let me guess. Vamos por el carro. Ya se ve, no es verdad. Ew, entonces él quiere mock me de que he courts el fraile con mi Bugatti que me roba o hasta con un Miata. I think it was in El possibly that I met when I was much younger and he was a kid. Either way, I'm not interested. I'm very busy by myself. What else? What else? What else? What else? Anyways, so oh, pictures. What else? What else? What else did I take that I like specifically? That's a favorite. Oh, these clouds. Specifically, when I took that picture, I loved it. And then in comparison, I'm like, wow, impressive. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. When I'm financially stable, I plan to travel with money people I don't know. That's usually like very much standard for me. But I did that at the library too. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Several times. What else? What else? What else? I took a picture of a person once. Very early on purpose. What else? What else? Unless it's Dana Kimani or someone that's posting for a picture. What else? What else? What else? There's paintings that I painted that I like. There's one picture of that plantain soup that I cooked for myself that stands out. It may be the most edited cheese balls. I want money today. It may be this one. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. Oh, a few of the paintings that I painted that I like. I just, this is cute. What else? 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 This is pretty. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? And yes, I'm as selfish as you see that I am. I don't make time for people to steal from me and get in the way of me receiving money for them to give me an opinion on something. I don't need their validation. That's what they seek for. And in the comments, they were hoping that people would be like, wow, more info. What comment? They're very outdated in their abuse. Very outdated in their abuse. What else? What else? What else? Do try to gauge who it is that's my true fan to kill it. For then later be like, I am Vincent was not confidence. And people are like, she's anything confidence for Dior. Ew. What else? What else? What else? So there, I guess I'm going like, if you don't feel inclined to do so, don't ever make your presence known to these people in reference to me because the theft and the rape towards me is real. So I don't know how serious they are about finding out who is my fan or not. I am getting rid of it just to later be admired for something that I influence. What else? 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 I'm more. What else? What else? What else? What else? When does it get dark out? Because I need to clean my apartment. I don't know. It's just like, yeah. I want to shop H&M today. I need to shave my legs better. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I like this picture of these two books that I took at Central Library. What else? What else? What else? There's an egg there. There's an apple that I made later. There's a peanut butter and jelly snack. Chips in my apartment. There's raisins there. Look at that window. We got two Catholic cherries in the freezer. While he's dying in wine, Sonia Alvaro shopping with my mom. And he thinks that I'm gonna take him on a date. What else? 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 I'm bored. They're delusional. If they still think about me, I don't ever think about them. And I don't say that to people. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, querido. What? So that's the six. Doesn't make me cold either. Do I have to say that in front of a judge? Would his lawyer grill me in court? Formal. What is it that I talked earlier about the juicy thing? And people kill themselves over that, knowing people so deplorable that live for that shit, literally. Yeah, traffic people into homelessness and starvation and anxiety and tiredness and poverty. I heard about that ticket. I've never been a victim of it. What else? That's your dad. That's your husband. What else? These turn out to be really good. They're not aggressive. They cook not flavor. What else? Oh, no, those toffee chips. I didn't even know, or did I? That there's toffee chips or whatever. I thought it was just something that's sprinkled on food. What else? More. Who's 15 minutes today? Anyways, what else? Oh, so they're upset, aren't they? Please do tell me how upset they are. I don't talk to them because they're like that's the whole point to get you to kill yourself because you didn't have a set of grandparents all growing up, so you should be sad. And then like legal hookers like, but no fair that this went to trial, that she's tagging the FBI. I fuck that lawyer for nothing. I knew I would trick you into that. This how they behave between themselves. So basically, they possibly have been raping lawyers if they can. That they thought they would find the lawyer that's so invested in that dick that during court hearing me as the victim, it would just destroy me emotionally that I would want to kill myself. Huh? What else? Qué pérdida de tiempo. For. What am I posting here? I don't feel the need to post on Facebook right now. Pero I've been posting all positivity and my non-shame story that I'm always honest. What else? 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 And yes, I hope one day you invite me to your class. And his mom. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I don't know invite you to my lair if it hadn't been stolen from me by these gentlemen. What else? What? I'm bored. Yeah, I'm bored. Oh, and I don't have conditions that if you have invite me to your castle, you have to invite my kids. As long as my kids are safe that day, I'm fine visiting alone or with the one that got the invite, not because the other one is deplorable. It just doesn't fit the activity or there's no more space. And you have to pick one kid. It happens, I've heard. What else? 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 I'm bored. I'm bored. What else? What else? What else? And I'm not the marriage type ever. What else? 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 Which excludes a lot of people I've heard. I don't know what that feeling is. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. Is that pissed? I want food and I don't have money. When my phone is fully charged, I'll head over to HEB, get paper towels, and clean my apartment today. Hopefully, I don't want roaches in it fall. You can decapitate everyone that steals my money, that gets in the way of receiving money, that gets in the way of receiving money, that steals my homes, that steals my vehicles. Sadly, Gloriana chose to listen, have roaches to terrorize me, and he thinks that it sticks. And it could have been that she's just like, whatever, I'm going to do what that kid tells me to do. Okay, I want that dick rather than a kid. Or he terrorized her to the point that she thought that he would kill her, and he killed her regardless. So that's why it's so stupid. He killed her regardless. What else? 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 I know she was depressed because she was an orphan since age 6 and she had been bullied a lot. The family took her and abused her, so he preyed onto that. Well, she's like, what does he need? Es spandex, more couture, que no se lo puede enseñar a él, para dónde se lo puede llevar. So he doesn't kill himself and doesn't kill him. What else? What else? What else? What else? It must suck to be him. What else? What else? What else? Todavía yo no lo violaron con un tubo. Yo no fui quien lo violó con un tubo. Didn't he beat me up the night he shot? During sex, is that one the same one? And it wasn't beating me up. He hurt me to where it didn't hurt that bad. But my dad walked in and stopped him from it. So that's not a sex time. If that happened, I was like 5 years old. And then he labeled me a hooker. Wow. So gross. 5 years old? Me, princess, me? Y que le digo hooker. Or luz facilita. I don't remember which one of the two. I think it was the oldest one. Porque he said really in bed or under the bleachers, and I picked the bleachers. Pero era porque me habían explicado que yo estaba en la escuela para perder el tiempo, porque ya yo soy inteligente. Y era to boost moral self-esteem there, eliminate porn addiction and sex addiction by continuing to be a tease that doesn't give in. But then they drug me and raped me. So gross. Ew, ew, ew. These are people of adult age already. So he labeled me a hooker for choosing nightclub experience, is what he called it, under the bleachers. And I thought like he and I were like queen of the castle. Though there were already two of his brothers there that played an equal part in my heart, literally. Pero I thought like it was like the garden experience. Like this is the size of the home that I want. Like la escuela Doctor Juan B. Soto with plenty of gardens galore. And look at me knowing that there's other people around and having sex with someone in the garden. But I just thought of them, not necessarily that they would become my staff, but as staff people know me in my life. So he's destroyed me, steals from me, gets in the way we receive money, porque to him I asked for nightclub experience, como una cuero asquerosa que va al nightclub a prostituirse. After that, how many times has he taken himself to the club? Does he feel guilt? Is that what he's doing? And fucks it up, but he doesn't always fuck it up, I imagine, when he takes himself to a nightclub and meets someone there is just meeting someone like at any place. This place was built. Doesn't he have a half brother that is from Nene, 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 vete a la biblioteca and meet people. Stop judging people. They will in them facilito, facilita. What else? 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 I'm bored, so that was very short lived. Very unappealing to. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. And that area, those bleachers area, had been used as like an extension, as like a garden-ish for my family of origin in La Cola. But I think at night, some people would just meet up there, and people would bring food and then clean up after oneself. So it was used as a common area. Anyways, anyways, no me gustó, no me gustó, no me gustó. The feelings mutual, no me gustó. What else? 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 The problem is in arranged marriages is that one of them is incompetent and doesn't want to manage his feelings. Otherwise, they wouldn't be stealing from me, trying to kill me, getting away with some money, drug me, and go around sharing pictures with them. Look at her night dining at a restaurant. Look at her makeup. Look at her hair. Look at her outfit so pretty. And I was Zandel's manager wife. Did I have a makeup artist there? Is someone doing my hair in my own home? Or in his home? What else? 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 I'm bored. You can decapitation del mother. If he stays in my homes without my permission, steals my money, gets in the way of receive money, steals my vehicles, steals property from me, pays people illegally to pretend to be me. What else? 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 Oh my god. Decades ago. Sejam was worse than a kid with Down syndrome trying to get a date with me. That he would see my dad at orgies, suck his dick, and be like, "Oh my god, I'm so like so happy right now." On a date, how do I ask her? On a date, my dad was like, "Stop raping me," and you know, just ask her on a date. What else? 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 Oh, I don't have fear of commitment. I have broken. I would listen to music on Pandora in my apartment. Oh, there's no electricity. What else? 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 Not what I needed or want to say to Jaden Kingsley. They don't need to know about that. My past history. I don't. It may be entertaining for them to roll their eyes and say, "Oh, that's why Daddy Yankee plays." Pandora, she's like, and then rolls her eyes. And then rolls her eyes at the thought. It's like, yeah, do I even consider him attractive or not? It's just a song that I don't speak. I'm just like to Pandora while they're just playing or watching a TV show, and I'm like in a different room. What they interrupt me with their show, and I interrupt them with my music. Kind of overlaps. So yeah, so they may be like, yeah, 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 whatever. What's for dinner? When does she cook for us? Oh, do they get mocked by Jibarito Caruso? Do they pester her and say to Jaden Kilani, pero con calma, she doesn't need to cook for you just yet. Y ya han pasado más de 5 años. What else? What else? What else? I've heard that behavior while I was growing up. I heard that behavior when I was growing up. The kids are like, I need my mommy so she can cook for me. That's an extension of her being my mommy. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I don't want to be in group chats where está y que la tía de Yandel. Uy, ¿tú te imaginas que eso es lo que están desde 2020 o antes? Para que yo me recuerde de alguien por like 5 minutes become speech unimpaired or bring it up actually. Tag the FBI and say I'm seeking the death penalty for him. And then Latia says, I thought this was going to be a reunion. Porque your sisters have been saying like that you've been looking forward to seeing me. They stay attached to those people looking for like when does Jandel have a nephew? When does Jandel have a son? And they're like, can you bring it into this orgy for us to make it? So they do like familial asquerosidad. Faking that they get along or just the invitation to a baby shower for them to extend the invitation to an orgy where the baby gets raped. They have no social skills. Am I headed over to my apartment right now? Possibly I'm using the restroom first. And then I'm heading over to HEB, getting paper towels, getting a yogurt for myself, most likely, maybe a salad. What else? 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 Well, seek the death penalty for these individuals. Classify me as a hoe. Allá ellos. Allá ellos. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm gonna take myself to dance at Austin. Not necessarily. like a life or death situation for me. But if I would have nothing to do and didn't get money or even with me, I would take myself there. If not, I can bachata in my own home or in San Antonio. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I want to eat and miss on sandwiches. ASAP, like next month. What else? That was intense last night or this early this morning. Oh, that was intense early this morning. Oh, what else? What else? What else? Anyways, I'm gonna watch TV today instead of hotel. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I don't get Southern Baptists overwhelmingly endorse a ban on same-sex marriage due to Southern Baptist Convention. Forget they're like also promoting men and women love. So it's not like they're haters, like that is part of their peace talk. Forget. What do you need to have babies on the phone? I'm bored. He's gifting me money today. Unbelievable. A hate crime towards me in 2025. I don't have electricity in my. I don't have money for food. What else? I'm literally a nobody. What else? That happens to be. What else? What else? Today, possibly because of our farmer's tan full. What else? What else? What else? What else? And my cellulite is not as bothersome as I'm excited about that because when I tan, then I can wear dresses that are just midi-ish. That was my concern. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Yeah, I hope someone gives me money. So. What else? What else? What else? You can decapitate everyone that stays in my homes without my permission, that steals my vehicles, that gets in the way of me receiving money, that steals my money, that's trying to rape me, that's drug me and rape me. Maldita sea. La maldita basura de gente que no anyone there and they're like whatever. We're just gonna go with that. Drugged all the time, never realizing the fun that she's had, raped by people that she doesn't want to be raped. Why? That's your stereotype. Like, can you not be like with as humble as I am, be that ignorant towards me when I know nothing about my heritage ever? What else? What else? What else? So that's hilarious if they make a fool of themselves. Thinking that I'm so Hollywood and people say, no, this girl's family. That's not the Acevedo kind of Hollywood. Porque there's possibly, like, no, Lorenzo's behave the same. What else? 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 So people just remark them like it's their fascination with Hollywood, with knowing that an actor got paid so many billions for a role. That made them go on to create the fake persona for me. What else? 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 They're trying to kill me before I get a movie wrong. Decades ago, they're like, oh no, she knows how to memorize lines. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? My idea of being sad doesn't excite me, but never say never. I've done a few plays in school because I hated it. Was Caroline in theater in Florida? I can't remember. In choir when she was here at school in Texas, Orlando. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? I like that school, Academy Street, with the exception of Margarita Corral in there. But that's because for PE there were uniforms there. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? You know, a strictler that I want to be working out in the school uniform or leather. What else? What else? What else? What else? He went on to rape every single one of my classmates from academics. That's why they won't give me money. Not that I'm asking. I don't remember them. Are they besties with Mauricio? Is Mauricio pretty or not? Wow. Poor guy went back to Puerto Rico. I'm like, there was like this guy that looked like with potential is gonna be handsome. When he's older, Mauricio maybe. Pero not that like no feelings for him or whatever. Deja que se recuerde de Yandel. Deja que se recuerde de Mauricio, huh? What else? What else? None of that means anything to me.